Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this final closing session of PriceFest 2021. This is our second annual award ceremony, awarding the Price Awards for excellence in the areas of scholarship, performance, leadership, and there's even an Emerging Artist Award, and also for advocacy. We have had an exciting week of hybrid performances. We did not let this Delta variant or the coronavirus dampen our passion for Price's work and for advancing her legacy through all of our various mediums. We've been engaged in some fantastic discussions. The ones that come to mind, I'm just thinking of Elizabeth Durant's beautiful paper linking Florence Price and Marian Anderson and Margaret Bonds into this rich tapestry of the history of Black arts and music in America. I also think about the rich discussions on perceptions of race and gender with Mel Fitzhugh. I think of the fantastic performances that we've seen, including Cole Berger, Kevin Wayne Bumpers, and more. And so I am just full. My cup is full, and I'm grateful to all of you who've come out in support of PriceFest 2021. If you haven't had a chance to watch everything live, I can assure you can go back if you're in the program booklet and watch all of the YouTube sessions live. And I believe the Vimeo sessions, you can click the same link and still watch them. So get them while they're hot and enjoy them. And make sure that if you haven't already, go to pricefest.org, sign up for our newsletter, and make sure you can get updates on all of our future events. Our next Price Fest, if you haven't heard, is going to be in 2023. But don't fall asleep during 2021 and 22 because we're going to be busy doing some smaller events, not less impactful, but just some smaller scale events. So I can sleep, and so we can also refocus and create a fantastic festival for you in 2023. So now I'm going to hush up. I'm going to invite our co-MC or real MC for the night, one of our executive committee members. This is Jordan Smith. Maestro, join us. Welcome, Jordan.
Hi, Marquise. Thank you so much.
It's so good to be here.
Good evening, and welcome to our second Florence Price Award ceremony. My name is Jordan Randall Smith, and I am visiting assistant professor of music and the director of orchestras at Susquehanna University, as well as one of the board members here at PriceFest. The Board of Creative Directors of the International Florence Price Festival is pleased to honor a slate of 6 esteemed artists and leaders who have inspired us with their lives, their art, and their work. When PriceFest was founded in early 2019, our organization quickly seized upon a number of key values and priorities that we believe are informed by the life and work of Price herself, and by our organization's vision and values as we explore not only her work, but the work of other equity-seeking groups, just as her legacy requires. Among those priorities was the importance of recognizing artists, scholars, composers, advocates, and leaders, both inside and even outside of the music industry, who have lived lives of conscience, who have lived up to Price's legacy, and who have honored her music with their accomplishments. Nominees were submitted and voted upon by secret ballot by the voting members of the PriceFest Board of Creative Directors. Tonight, we are proud to announce their names for the first time publicly and celebrate them for their remarkable accomplishments. And with that, I turn it over to our first presenter tonight, Dr. Douglas Shadle.
All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Doug Shadle, and I am a founding board member of PriceFest, as well as an associate professor of musicology at the Vanderbilt University Blair School of Music. I'll be starting tonight's presentation with the award for scholarship. According to our mission, this award celebrates the dedicated scholars who continue to shed light on the life, music, and legacy of Florence Price. So without further ado, I'd like to announce the winner of the 2021 Price Award for Scholarship. Musicologist and violinist A. Corey Hill, an impact communication specialist for the Cincinnati-based nonprofit ArtsWave, is one of the leading scholars of Price's music today. A doctoral candidate at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, her dissertation examines Price's engagements with Afro-modernism in her 3 concertos for solo instruments, and much more, I should say. Beyond her significant contributions to academic discourse on Price, which takes place not only in her dissertation work, but also in presentations at various scholarly conferences, Hill has also developed a strong voice as a public intellectual in outstanding pieces for I Care If You Listen, the Harry Burleigh Society, the Seattle Symphony Orchestra, and elsewhere. Finally, along with Dr. Samantha Ege, one of last year's Price Award winners, Hill will be co-editing the Cambridge Companion to Price. So it's my pleasure and honor to present the Price Award for Scholarship to A. Corey Hill. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Doug. Thank you to PriceFest for this tremendous honor. Oh goodness, I feel like I'm at the Oscars or something. So first, I want to thank my family, my mom and my dad, my sister, my niece, and all my family members that have supported me on my journey thus far as a scholar, as a violinist, as a person that just loves history. Also need to shout out my dissertation advisor, Mark Katz. Thank you so much for your guidance and your patience in helping me coalesce my ideas around Price's concertos. Thank you to Doug, Samantha, Grace Kwan, Joanna, Alex, Stella, Aldwin, everybody that I've talked to about my work, that I have hashed out ideas with. I would not be here without y'all's advice and guidance and thoughts. And yeah, so just thank you again for this tremendous honor.
Terrific. Well, congratulations to you, Corey.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug, for announcing our first winner. And I believe you are announcing our next winner as well.
Correct. Yes. Okay. I just wasn't sorry, everyone. I just wasn't sure if we were doing anything in between. We are professionals here.
It's okay.
All right. Okay. So in any case, I'll also be announcing our next award, which is the Price Award for Performance. And I'll read the description of that award, again, followed by this year's winner. So PriceFest created this award to honor Florence Price's successful career as a pianist and organist, and to celebrate dedicated performers exhibiting artistic excellence in the performance and proliferation of her compositions. Pianist Michelle Cann likely needs no introduction to fans of Florence Price. In 2016, she soloed in the contemporary New York City premiere of Price's Piano Concerto with the Dream Unfinished Orchestra, and then heroically followed up that performance earlier this year with the Philadelphia Orchestra and Cleveland Orchestra. Thanks to composer Trevor Weston, the Piano Concerto has been heard over the past 10 years in a reconstruction he created. But Cann's performances earlier this year made use of Price's original orchestration, which only recently came to light at auction. Appointed as the inaugural Eleanor Sokoloff Chair in Piano Studies at the Curtis Institute of Music in late 2020, Cann rapidly became one of the preeminent interpreters and champions of Price's music and legacy. It's my pleasure, therefore, to present her with this year's Price Award in Performance. And unfortunately, Michelle Cann couldn't be with us directly tonight, but she has accepted the award and sent us a video presentation of her acceptance. So we'll cue that up here and let you see what she has to say.
Let's try one more time.
Hi, my name is Michelle Cann, and I just want to say that I am delighted and honored to receive the 2021 Price Award for Performance. I have been an advocate and admirer of Florence Price's music for many years now. I was first introduced to her body of work in 2016, and I was asked to learn the piano concerto in one movement and was able to perform it with the Dream Unfinished Symphony in New York City. This was such a very important event for me, not just for the reception that this piece was received by the audience. It was also because I realized how important it was to continue to perform more of her music and to share her story as much as I possibly can. And that's what I've done since then. And it's so easy to do it because her music is just so powerful, so beautiful, and it really tells a story. She is such an inspiration to me, and she really set an example for many composers to come. I'm so proud of all the female composers that have come since her and are doing great things. And to name a few, Jessie Montgomery, Valerie Coleman, and of course there's so many more that are just inspiring me to this day. So it really is an honor to receive this award. I am so happy for the International Florence Price Festival and everything that you're doing to promote not only her music, but other composers of color and other leaders in the field who are doing everything to change what music and classical music looks like for the future and for future generations. So thank you again for this honor.
And thank you so much to Michelle. Michelle Can is such a fantastic performer. We're so glad to be honoring her this evening. I think we had one presenter who may not be here. I think Jordan might be doing something. Let me add Jordan back.
Hi, Marquise. Yeah, I gave you a production note you can look at in the chat there. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and jump in with our composition award, if you'll just give me one moment here. We're now going to honor Florence Price's outstanding contributions to the repertoire by honoring a composer whose impressive body of work exemplifies the spirit of Florence Price and exhibits superior musical compositional ability. This year's laureate for the Price Award for Composition is composer Jasmine Ariel Barnes. Jasmine possesses an uncommon depth and breadth to her musical talents, not only as a composer, but as a performer and educator as well. In other words, Barnes is a triple threat, just as Price was. As a composer, she is quickly developing a reputation for rich, meaningful compositions across a broad range of genres. Barnes has held residencies at the Chautauqua Opera and All Classical Portland. She's been commissioned by numerous organizations, including the Washington National Opera, Resonance Ensemble, Tapestry Choir, CityWorks Cleveland, Lyric Fest Philadelphia, Baltimore Choral Arts, Burley Festival, The Voice Project, and many others. In addition to numerous other awards, her 10-minute opera entitled The Late Walk, commissioned by Bear Opera, was recently archived at the Library of Congress. Jasmine is also an educator, having recently completed her tenure as the head of compositional studies and jazz voice studies at Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing Arts and Visual Arts in Dallas, Texas. She holds her Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts in Music from Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland. Her Master of Arts in Music Composition was the first of its kind offered at Morgan State, where she was a student of Dr. James Lee III. It is now my great privilege to publicly congratulate and welcome Ms. Barnes. Congratulations, Jasmine.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, it really is an honor. Thank you so much, PriceFest, for even just like considering me. It really is an honor, and I don't think I even have adequate words to actually express fully the gratitude I have in receiving an award named after such a huge giant and huge influence on my life. Yeah, I'm incredibly grateful. One thing this definitely gives me courage to do is to continue and to keep me in representation for those who look like me and didn't actually have representation the same way I felt growing up. But women like Florence Price changed my life. And being able to see that this was a possibility just through her, just seeing that this career is something that's possible, even if we're not appreciated in our lifetime. I've learned to know that this is just such a rewarding field, and one that really can change and reflect the society. And yeah, I'm honored. Thank you so much again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jasmine. Congratulations again. What an exciting day. Next up, we're going to talk about the Price Award for Advocacy. Now, Florence Price was a consciously Black woman composer writing consciously Black music. She advocated for her heritage, for her community, and for her culture. In the Price Award for Advocacy, we honor members of the music community who have served as tireless advocates, not only for the music of Price, but for critical social justice work within music and beyond. I'm pleased to announce that the Price Award for Advocacy this year goes to Randy Jones. Miss Jones is a native of Greensboro, North Carolina. She had her first exposure to Negro spirituals and German hymns in her home church. She's received degrees in music education and vocal performance with additional studies in vocal literature. As a historian, she has been a pioneer in producing websites such as Afrocentric Voices in Classical Music and the Spirituals Database, featuring African-American musicians. The Spirituals Database provides searchable information about Negro spirituals set for the solo voice and recorded on over 5,400 tracks from over 675 sound recordings. These databases have served as invaluable resources for vocalists, vocal teachers, coaches, collaborative pianists, scholars, and many others to expand the repertoire and enhance their practice, amounting to one of the most critical components of any advocacy and education practice, which is making quality resources available to all. Randy has published several articles, including The Gospel Truth About the Negro Spiritual, and an essay on tenor Roland Hayes' recording, Were You There? She continues to be an active performer, lecturer, and conference presenter. Her popular and critically acclaimed 2019 book, So You Want to Sing Spirituals, A Guide for Performers, has won plaudits across the music world. Dr. Louise Toppin, who was herself a member of the inaugural class of Price Award laureates, happened to review this book, writing that it is a wonderful resource for those interested in navigating the world of spirituals. Randy Jones melds methodical research with practical advice into a book that invites students and teachers of all ethnicities to explore and present spirituals with greater authenticity and confidence. I'm now pleased and honored to congratulate and thank Randy Jones and invite her to say a few words. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank the Board of Creative Directors for the International Florence Price Festival for the honor of being named recipient of the 2021 Price Award for Advocacy. I've been fortunate that among many teachers and several others who inspired me, my interest in the music of my heritage as an African American, and I've tried to pay forward, as it were, by encouraging others to capture this profound but still underappreciated music. I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to preach of this, as it were, to the choir. I suspect that most of you viewing this are also advocates of the work of Florence Price, of African American women composers, and of composers of the African diaspora as a whole, as performers, composers, researchers, educators, and much more. There are so many ways to advocate, but I'm only going to focus on one right now. Specifically, I call this finding the rare gems, as it were. I can imagine most of you singers, for example, have studied and performed H.T. Burley's Deep River or Miss Price's My Soul's Been Anchored in the Lord. I have also enjoyed those songs immensely and have programmed them whenever I can. However, I want to advocate for, indeed challenge you, to seek and to learn those rarely, if ever, performed works. The one that speaks to you in a way that no other has, to share it with others. There are composers of the past and of today whose work should be heard. Given that chance for the audience, for the listener to hear them and to fall in love with them as well. And if you choose to record that rare gem for the first time, or that war horse for the 100th time, please be sure to fully credit composers who wrote these works and brought them to life again. Donate a copy to the institution where you studied or worked, because those are one more conduit for sharing and for advocating that music. I assure you that composers appreciate sources for inspiration. Publishers will make works available for publication and purchase if they have interested buyers. Academic and public libraries will be more inclined to acquire those works if they see support from their patrons, and educational institutions will offer courses and research opportunities if their students and teachers ask for them. So much progress has been made, and we advocates need to just keep moving onward. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Randy, for accepting this award. And I personally have benefited as a voice teacher from your work with my students and through the work of So You Want to Sing Spiritual. So thank you so much. It is my pleasure to announce our next two, certainly their last but not least at all, our last two laureates. I'm going to start with announcing our laureate for emerging performance, the Price Award for Emerging Performance. We're proud here at PriceFest to celebrate and encourage the emerging scholars who, while taking root in their career, display excellence in promoting the life, music, and legacy of Florence Price. And it is my joy today to announce that our Price laureate for emerging excellence in performance is none other than soprano Leah Hawkins. Let's give Leah a big round of applause. It is my joy to share with you a little bit about Leah, and this is certainly not all of her great accomplishments. A native of Philadelphia, soprano Leah Hawkins began the 2020 and 21 season as Desdemona in Seven Deaths of Maria Callas at Bayerische Staatsoper, with later debuts at Portland Opera, Tulsa Opera, and the Elbphilharmonie Hamburg. A recent alumna of the Lindemann Young Artist Development Program at the Metropolitan Opera, last season she appeared at the Met to great acclaim as the Strawberry Woman in Porgy and Bess, and Masha in The Queen of Spades. Ms. Hawkins is an alumna of the Kafritz Young Artist Program at Washington National Opera, where stage appearances included Mazzoli's Proving Up, Champion, an opera in jazz by Terence Blanchard, and Justice at the Opera with the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. On the concert stage, she has appeared with the Philadelphia Orchestra, Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra, Colorado Symphony Orchestra, National Symphony Orchestra, and Yale Philharmonia, among others. A full schedule, okay? Booked and busy. Additionally, she has performed at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow, at the Musique et Vin au Clos Vougeot Festival in Beaune, France, using my diction skills today, in concert in Accra, Ghana, and at the White House, singing for the President of France. She has received awards from the Sullivan Foundation, the Shoshana Foundation, the Young Patronesses of the Opera, Florida Grand Opera Vocal Competition, the Chautauqua Opera Guild, Yale School of Music, George London Foundation, the Marcello Giordani Foundation, Opera Ebony. Leah received her Master of Music and Voice from Yale University and Bachelor of Arts from Morgan State University. It is with great pleasure that I present this Emerging Performance Award, and to also, I didn't note this earlier, an alum of Morgan State, an outstanding and awe-inspiring artist, Miss Leah Hawkins. Congratulations, Leah.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the board for this great recognition and this great honor. I am so honored to be a part of this class of winners. These women inspire me in so many ways, whether through their advocacy and their artistry, and I've sung their music and read their work. So I'm so glad to be a part of this. I'm also so grateful to you all for honoring the legacy of Miss Florence Price in this way. And I'm grateful that I was introduced to her music as an undergraduate student at Morgan and was able to sing it even then as a young person, and that I'm able to continue doing that even now. And I will continue doing that in any way that I can. So thank you so much for this. And I look forward to what the future holds for me and this music of this great woman.
Thank you so much, Leah. And really, truly reading through your bio and all the work you've been doing, including all of our artists, I just think of how Florence Price longed for this type of notoriety and the ability to be accepted in America and abroad. And as I look across our laureates, I'm seeing her dreams reflected in you. So congratulations to stepping into those huge shoes. All right, I get to announce our final, last but certainly not least, a real stalwart, a real champion for change. I'm not going to say the name yet. Y'all thought I was going to give it away. So this is our Price Award for Excellence in the Area of Leadership. Born in Jim Crow, Arkansas, Florence Price was a bold pioneer, a leader and a role model as a Black woman, an artist, a community leader, and a mother in early 20th century America. It is our goal here at PriceFest to continue to honor great leaders who embody the best of Florence Price, and leaders in every sense of the word. It is my pleasure this evening to announce our second annual recipient of this award. This is, I believe it might be the Reverend Doctor, but you can correct me, Terry Allen of Kappa. Welcome, Terry.
The Reverend Doctor. Oh my God.
See, she's too humble, y'all. I had to do some research and saw Reverend Doctor, so let's put some respect on it. Let me take a moment to introduce the wonderful Terry Allen. Terry Allen currently serves as the executive director of the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts, otherwise known as Kappa, a 501c3 nonprofit arts organization dedicated to help bring color to the classics. I know that slogan well, by supporting and helping to promote Black classical musicians, youth, and others in the performing arts. Under her leadership, she has helped broaden Kappa's reach to include national and international exposure, partnerships, and particularly I think of the HBCU partnerships, and programs including music scholarships, a year-round performing series, the Opera for Fun Youth Outreach Program, Reach International, Opera Composers Project, and a national masterclass series where she partners with historically Black colleges and university music departments throughout the U.S. Terry garnered her educational experience from SUNY Stony Brook, Pace University Law School, and Bethel Bible College. Terry's two children, Victor Simonson and Pamela Simonson, founded Kappa almost 20 years ago to give back to their community. And wow, have they given back to the community, DC, Maryland, DMV area. You've done the work. So it is my joy to congratulate Terry Allen, our second annual recipient of this award. Congratulations, Terry.
Reverend Doctor, you are so funny. That's hilarious. But, you know, I humbly accept this award and this honor. But before I do that, I just want to say congratulations to my fellow laureates, some of whom I know personally. In fact, Jasmine Barnes was a part of our opera project, our opera composers project, she and Joshua Banbury. And Randy Jones, we hosted her in a book signing and a musical presentation just before the pandemics. And of course, Leah Hawkins, who cannot know such a wonderful, wonderful soprano, Leah Hawkins. And I hope and pray I get to meet Corey Hill,
who I understand is a wonderful violinist. So congratulations to all of you. You know, the work of Kappa and the work that I'm doing that you're recognizing today is, you know, a passion project. And my son and my daughter, Victor and Pamela, began the organization some years ago with the idea of giving back to the community. And we've just been trying to do that in a variety of different ways. I congratulate the Florence Price, the International PriceFest, in the work that you're doing. Certainly Marquise Carter and the entire committee, you're doing a stellar work. You have really, really taken the bull by the horns and lifted up this wonderful composer, Florence Price, who is the epitome of African-American talent and women. And I hope and pray that our history, you know, for young people is made known in ways that we can, you know, they can learn about Florence Price and talk about Florence Price as easily as they can talk about Nicki Minaj, dare I say. But, you know, it's just an honor and a pleasure to be here today among all of you. And I really appreciate this honor. Thank you so much to the International Price Fest Festival, and continue doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work. And again, I thank you. God bless you all, always and in all ways.
Thank you so much, Terry. And Terry has been so encouraging to us, and particularly to me, just getting started, learning how this all works. You are just such a light, and I appreciate you. I'm going to now call up all of our presenters and have one last, and I'm going to ask the people in the chat as well, viewing on YouTube, to give us some words of love and kindness to our laureates, and let's give them another round of applause. Congratulations to the PriceFest laureates 2021. What a stellar group. I'm going to take a moment to just highlight some hellos from our audience. This is Karen, composer, who she's been attending everything. She says, greetings from Atlanta, congratulations. We have Elizabeth Durant, hi from Severn, Maryland. Welcome to everyone. We have Melissa Givens, a fantastic soprano who also performed at this festival. Thank you, Melissa. Sam Thompson is here. Louise Toppin is here in the house. Congratulations to all of you. And we have someone from far away. Adrian from Poland says, congratulations to all our laureates. We truly are internationals, not just a catchphrase. So I'm really glad to see this. I'm about to post a question in our comments section, but I want to help transition us into some discussion. I didn't know Jordan had something he wanted to say first, though.
As we wrap up our award ceremony, I'll just say thanks again to the Board of Creative Directors for doing the important work of recognizing these incredible artists, thinkers, dreamers, and doers. Florence Price was a remarkable and gifted composer, performer, and community leader, among many other things. Lastly, thank you to our 2021 class of Price Award laureates for all you have done and continue to do in your critically important work across the globe, both to advocate for Price's music and to live up to her legacy. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you for modeling the way forward for us, truly. Thank you. I did want to move us in the spirit of last year. Now, last year we went on for about 2 hours and it was lovely, but Mama needed to sleep and teach tomorrow. But I do want us to have some conversation. The theme, as you all know, of this year's festival was a new Black Renaissance. And let me tell you where that came from. I had to give a shout out to Joe Williams, who is a fantastic coach, pianist, artist out in Washington. And I was talking to him because he had worked as a coach with that Portland Opera Resident Artist Program. And he's lovely at creating spaces, particularly during coronavirus. He created some lovely Zoom spaces for Black artists to meet each other. And one thing came up during one of those discussions. I don't know where it came from, but I just said, I wonder if this is our Renaissance right now. What if this is a repeat of the past? Maybe this is a chance as things are dissolving, as there's a moment of racial reckoning, as we're having to consider how arts might look different in post-COVID-19, post-pandemic. maybe this is a chance for us to reclaim that concept of Renaissance. And how can we create, as Black folks and people on the margins, how can we become the center by creating our own spaces? And so this is a thing that just started spinning in my head, and I decided to make that the theme of the festival. And over, I keep being inspired by ways that folks are creating spaces for Black artists to thrive and creating new ways for us to engage with our own art and rewrite our histories and our future. So I wanted to post a question for the talented group here. How do we create a new Black Renaissance moving forward? And looking into your own, and you can speak from your own expertise, scholarship, performance, composition, advocacy, but from your perspective, what does the ideal future for Black artists look like? How do we create this new Black Renaissance? And I posted it in the chat as well. So if folks have some hot takes, I'm glad to put them up there respectfully. I always have to put that the forefront. But I just wanted us to be thinking about that. Our laureates have had a moment to think about it. And I'll just say, who wants to go first? I could speak, but I want our laureates to speak. Who has a comment about this? What does a new Black Renaissance look like for us in 2021?
When I think of Renaissance, I think of rebirth and renew and bringing forth some things that are different, that had not been done in the past, or either or revisited in a new and unique, different way. So as far as CAP is concerned, what we've tried to do is to reinvent the way that not only Black performers, classical musicians, but also youth and audiences approach classical music that's performed by, written by, and appreciated by Black classical musicians. And the variety of different ways that we've tried to do that is through our programming. We have a 5-point initiative. If you think of CAPA, you think of CAAPA, and that stands for Community Outreach, Arts Education, Audience Development, Performance Opportunities, and Arts Partnerships. And in that process, the renaissance of all of those 5 initiatives takes place, whether it's reaching out to the community in a way that's approachable. You know, I mentioned before that if youth are able to learn about Florence Price and be able to talk about her and to understand her compositions and her music in the same way that they appreciate a Beyonce, you know, that's revolutionary. And the same thing with arts education. You know, when I look at Randy Jones and what she's doing for Negro spirituals, you know, that's amazing. But if we can get that into the schools, that would create and help to foster a renaissance. Performance opportunities. Leah, you've just taken what you have, your amazing talent, and just taken it to the next level. That's a renaissance. And the fact that organizations and opera companies are recognizing your talent and putting that out there, and with you in the forefront, that's a renaissance in itself. And of course, one of the most important things that CAPA embraces so definitively is arts partnerships. You know, organizations such as this one, PriceFest International Festival, but other arts organizations, if we can create a partnership with other arts organizations, whether it's from the composition, Jasmine, with creating partnerships with other organizations that would help promote your work, or Corey, with your performance, to partner with an organization that's going to help catapult your career and so forth, that arts partnerships is very, very important. And that, I believe, will help create to push forward a renaissance, the new Black Renaissance. And I would love to see that. It's actually started. I believe it started.
Yeah.
But, you know, we just have to continue the momentum, because we don't want it to just become a fad or become very much in, you know, right now it's in vogue. We want it to be a mainstay. You know, we want the children to be able to talk about Beethoven as much as they talk about Beyonce. You know, all of that is so very, very important. So kudos to you, Marquise, for even delving into this topic of the new Black Renaissance. You know, this should be a major move in the United States and around the world. And anything that we can do here at CAPA to help do that, we're here for you.
Thank you, Terry. And hearing you talk about partnership, it reminds me so much of Katie Brown of the Classically Black podcast and Delaney Harris. They've started the International Society for Black Musicians for us to have another form of community. And I'm just curious what that's going to do in addition to NAM and some of our established organizations to create a sense of community within a community. I wonder what that's going to do for us. And I hope that that's an opportunity for more fruitful partnerships like this as well. Other comments? Others want to make a comment?
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Randy. I know you have an opinion.
Well, I think what I would love to see happen as far as a renaissance is to reassess American music and look at it not just as aspect, especially when you're talking about classical music, but looking at it from a Eurocentric point of view, but looking at it from what contributions did the whole of the American experience make, especially when you're talking about African American music, especially the spiritual. And I mean, hey, that happens to be my area of interest at present. But I just, there's so many things that have happened. American popular music wouldn't exist as it is without the African American contribution to it. Rock and roll, etc. Those things would not be what they are if they existed at all, were it not for that music. And to have the kids be exposed to music from all of that dynamic, from the very beginning, where you're talking about how did we come to this country? What kind of things did we contribute to this country? And to feel comfortable and appreciative, self-appreciative of what that culture is, what roles it's playing, and to be proud of who we are and what we've done. I think that goes so far towards the understanding the Renaissance, as you say, of just taking joy in what we've accomplished, and to see just where we can take it from here.
Here, Randy. Melissa Givens gave us a little feedback, and then I'll let Leah come in. But Melissa Givens kind of riffed on something that Terry was saying. Part of the success of the Harlem Renaissance was the concentration of a critical mass of Black artistic excellence. And today, technology allows us to affect a similar concentration. And I mean, we saw so many new connections. The one good thing about Zoom maybe was that I could meet new artists. There are very few things left that I like about Zoom. But the one nice thing was meeting and collaborating with friends that I probably wouldn't have met until the next Sphinx or the next in-person festival or the next NAM. And we got to connect immediately, that sort of immediacy. I just thought I'd add that to the room. I'll pass it to Leah.
Yes, I agree fully with what Terry and Randy have said. And I just want to tack on that for me, Renaissance also includes seeing Black people in spaces as a normal thing. So the work of a Black composer being on a program, not just for a special program, not just for your Martin Luther King Day concert or for this Black specific thing, but just seeing Jasmine Symphony on a program with other works. For a Black artist to go into an opera house and not just do a Black work and that be it. Seeing them in standard repertoire or standard, because Black music is standard repertoire, but seeing them in your standard Italian and French repertoire, but it being a normal thing and not this specialized thing. The bulk of my work in the last year, thanks to COVID, has been Black music, and I absolutely love it. And I will continue that, and I will continue being a force to share that. But I am also capable of more. And so I want them to understand that Black artists are capable of so much and don't box us in that way. So. Right.
And it seems like you do a couple of pieces by Florence Price and all of a sudden all you can sing is a Florence Price piece. And one of the things we're passionate about at PriceFest is, yes, Florence Price's legacy was that of her talent in all these areas, but she also wanted this widespread appeal. She wanted an equal chance and an equal seat at the table. And I think that's part of the legacy, is helping us to see how can we bring Black music into what you said it is standard repertoire. Actually, just I have books behind me. I'm in my office. Standard repertoire, and I can count on one hand how many of those books have African American artists on it. So we really have to continue that work in education. That's my particular call.
Yes.
Well, Marquise, if I may add briefly, I just want to build on something that Leah just said, which is that one of the things that really floors me about this group of laureates and that impresses me so much about all of you is that to a person, you could have been awarded a different one of the awards, that you aren't just scholars, you aren't just advocates, but all 5 of you are many of those things, all of those things. And this idea of a Renaissance person and being a part of a Black Renaissance is excellence in all of these endeavors. And of course, there's pressure to spread oneself too thin. But if, as Leah says, there's more to give, then let it be the fullness of what that is to feed this Renaissance.
Yes, and I think us also accepting that advocacy has so many different faces. And so it's not just us standing loud and saying, protest, but also us in the back rooms advocating for each other and giving suggestions and like making recommendations. That's also a part of our Renaissance, and making sure us being in that room and being sure to push other artists, Black artists, forward.
Right. Mobilizing our platforms, development, the areas of development, financial equity is a big piece of the puzzle too. It's who gets access to the grants, who gets access to the stages, who gets access to the funding through a university, for example, who gets access, what is considered a valuable project. These are all things that really were being called into answer and reckon with. Terry.
You touched on something very, very important, Marquise, especially where Black arts organizations are concerned. Right here in Washington, D.C., I was reading an article regarding the District of Columbia Commission of the Arts, and they just reformatted their grant funding process. And what that did was it took away all of the larger organizations who was getting hundreds and thousands of dollars, and made it more equitable across the board to give mid-size and small arts organizations a piece of the pie, a piece of the pot. And I thought that was so commendable. We don't qualify for District DC government money because we're based out of Maryland. But when I saw that article, I said, congratulations to those decision makers to take that pie and make it more equitable financially, because now those small organizations, those mid-sized organizations such as ours, are going to have an equal opportunity to be able to go after those grants. The grant process is not going to be as difficult. It's not going to be as cumbersome. And the money that was set aside for the larger organizations was automatic. I couldn't believe it. It was automatic funding. They didn't even have to they didn't even have to fill out an application, which filling out an application can become like mind-boggling if you've ever done a National Endowment for the Arts or a National Endowment for the Humanities or any of those other It's like
so many things.
It's like eating thick oatmeal. But now what they have done in DC Commission of the Arts, they have leveled the playing ground. Now, whether or not this will last or continue remains to be seen, because they said it was a temporary fix. But I applaud those individuals who took that idea of equalizing everything for arts organizations in the district and making it accessible. And that's what it's all about, accessibility, especially where it comes to funding. It's so important with the program that Jasmine participated in. If it hadn't been for a funder, the Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council, they were able to grant us, and they're based in Prince George's County, which is where we're based. And Jasmine and Joshua got an initial grant to do a 20-minute vignette. and then they along with two other composers, and then the winning composer got a $20,000 grant. We would not have been able to do that kind of thing had it not been for equity. And I just have to congratulate DC Commission of the Arts. I don't know whether other arts councils in the United States are doing similar kinds of things, but I'm hoping and praying that that's a part of the Renaissance, financial equity.
Yes, exactly. Because we live in a capitalist structure, it's sort of who has access to the money creates these cyclical access points. If someone got the $100,000 grant 5 years ago, they have a staff person who can help fill out those applications for them, and then it just kind of self-fulfills. So it's about creating these access points. I think Randy, and then I want to invite Jasmine or Corey if they have any comments.
Oh,
you were unmuted. I didn't know if you wanted to talk. I just thought you were.
No, I just hadn't muted.
Oh, no problem. No problem, man. I can ask.
No, yeah. Well, no, actually, I was thinking about one thing as well. When we're dealing with publishers and who have taken musical works, whether they're musical scores, recordings, etc., and they've taken those things off of their availability list. You can't find them they're no longer in print and so forth. It really does make it challenging to find these works at times. And then also, of course, you have newer composers and so forth who are trying to get in the door and trying to find ways to be able to make their works accessible to others. And I think those are still challenges that we have to find a way to deal with. I think people are self-publishing, and that's wonderful. But on the other end, that's also not an easy thing. Fortunately, we do have some publishers who seem to be going out of their way to find the works by African-American composers and get them republished or to get them published for the first time. We mentioned Louise Top, and I noticed that she's got a couple of things that have just come out recently that I know I was just absolutely, the moment they were available, I had to get them.
And Margaret I had Bond's book, yeah.
Yes. And so, these are things that we need to do to support one another and to encourage people to make them part of their standard repertoire as well.
Oh, and Randy, you bring up a good point, which I'm sure maybe Jasmine has an opinion about, but how do we someone put this in the comment, making resources available, networking with different types of organizations, some sort of mentoring program. And I'm curious, how many folks here have benefited from mentorship or initiatives that have given them a space? And I just wonder how we create those access points. And then I was just thinking, for composers, how do we how do we encourage young composers and give them the tools they need to be seen?
I would love to say something about this. I personally think that we place our audiences in a box in the classical world. We kind of assume that we know exactly what they want to hear, which I think is kind of absurd because how can you actually predict that? But one thing I do know is that we shy away from popular culture, and I think popular culture has a place and a space in classical music. As every Renaissance happened, it changed with genre. It had new emergences of things that never existed before, and I think that is what really needs to happen right now compositionally. Some of my interests have nothing to do with anything that anyone's ever heard in classical music, and I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with the thought of someone saying, "Oh, this isn't classical music." Well, people have said that about different genres as time has gone on. People say that about jazz right now. Well, that's not jazz. That's smooth R&B. I don't know. Anyways, you understand what I mean. So I think just being okay with being different right now, and maybe people not agreeing with what you think, is the new thing. And that is the tough part, because we really, especially as Black artists, we really value acceptance. we really like put a big self-identifier on how much people accept us, but it may not be that way going forward. It may get uncomfortable at some point. So yeah, but I can feel that we're already in one, in a renaissance, though, for sure.
I hear that, Jazz, but I do hear that. And I agree, we are in a renaissance. We're seeing it in so many different ways. That is for sure. Corey, did you have something you were wanting to say?
Yes, because with everything folks have said thus far, I'm just like, yes, 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 and then some. And I was also thinking about in terms, because the Renaissance for me, yeah, I agree that we are in the midst of one and in the midst of a Florence Price Renaissance, especially, like, or another one, if we rightfully include the one she had in the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too that what I hope to see with not only the Renaissance for her, but also for Black music, Black culture writ large, not only within the States, but at the global level, that we, that this trajectory that I see a lot of us on, whether it's what we're publishing, what we're performing, what we're composing, what we're teaching, or all the above, that I hope that, I am working to help facilitate that they become part of mainstream and remain part of mainstream discourse, because we start to see it. We've seen snippets of that with Price's coverage and programming by major outlets like New York Times, major symphonies putting her work on their programs, and that, yeah, as other folks have said, that her music becomes, it's just an ordinary thing that you see Florence Price on the program. And then hopefully, instead of her being like the one Black woman that they program, it's, we see Florence Price, Jacqueline Barnes, some Piazzolla, and some Aaron Copland on the same program, or some Pamela Z and William Grant. So, I could go on. And then at the same time with the literature that is upcoming, like the edited collection, Samantha and I are doing, that you and Doug Bartise are contributing to, and the other edited collection that Doug and Samantha are doing for Oxford Press. But there's a bunch of other material that I'm looking at the moment, but that this is literature that we have been needing for a long time, and that with Ray Linda's work that came out just last year, that becomes one of many books, of many articles, that you just walk into a bookstore or walk up to a bookseller and say, hey, can you order X thing on Florence Price for me? And instead of them being like, oh, well, actually, that's not there. It's like, okay, well, which one you want? Because we got like 25 options here. So that is what, I am working to contribute, so that is reality, that it's a reality not only for Price, but lots of other Black composers, Black women, historical and contemporary. And one thing that I've said to a few people is that how my scholarship drives me is I don't want another Black child to have to go through experience I went through, where I'm like, okay, where are we? And just assume that we weren't there until it took like 2 decades and I'm in college and I'm like, oh, we actually were there and have been there for centuries. And so that's kind of how I am seeing the trajectory going right now, and where I hope it will continue to go and really become part of the fabric of how we talk about and read about and listen to music.
Thank you so much, Corey. I just am a big fan of Corey. And every time Corey speaks, I just have 15 things to think about and more connections. And our brains are like this. So I just love it. I want to leave space for others to make comments. Go ahead.
I have a question for Corey. I love your framing as far as thinking about kind of visioning forward to a time where you couldn't just say, I want the one book on Price. I want one of, and of course, you mentioned some of the exciting volumes that some of the folks on the discussion today are in progress on now. what are some other books that you want to see in that collection of 25 books? What are some other books that, leaving aside all the ones that are known to be in progress, what are some other books that we need? What do we need?
Yeah. So one thing that, sorry, this is getting kind of into my dissertation work a little bit, but one thing I'm really interested in too is how Black classical composers used music as like as a method of theory in terms of like their relationship to the nation, their relationship within the diaspora, this repairing of Black music, not only Black musical history, but just history and connection to Africa. And I would love to see more books that engage with the music in that way, where it's not only, we getting into the meat and potatoes of what's going on harmonically, melodically, but also thinking about what is the significance culturally, politically, socially, because it's been something that has been talked about a bit more in like jazz studies and even rap and hip hop, like music as a theoretical framework, as critical theory. So I'm starting to get down the academic road. I'm sorry, y'all, but that is the type of stuff I want to see, and I'd like to see even more engagement with classical music's role and presence in Black culture. And because like I started out with the whole brick coming at it from the perspective of like, assimilation and what's the other ones? I'm blanking on the terms, but just thinking like, what is the about how classical music is racialized as white, and like, are we Black enough, et cetera, and like it's like, yes, we have to delve into that topic, but if that's the only way we're coming at it, it's just boring. Like, I don't know about y'all, but when I would be playing my music, I was not thinking about that question every other second. I was like, I need to get this note in tune. Like, oh, I want to like express this passage in this way. Or like, let me research more about the piece. So yeah, it's there's just so many different avenues of inquiry, of investigation into Black classical music. And then on top of that too, just the different stylistic traditions and schools of composition. Because, a lot of times, I just feel like there's an inferment that Black composers, when they engage with the same stylistic materials, they engage with them in the same way. And we know that that's not the case, but the literature that we have out there is not quite enough to really delineate, like, okay, what's the stylistic difference between Florence Price and Harriet T. Burley? What's the difference between Florence Price, William Grant Still, and George Lewis, for example. Yeah. So there's, it's just so much stuff. But I think at the end of the day, I want more engagement with music as critical theorizing the different stylistic schools of composition amongst Black composers, and just books. I love buying books as much as I love reading books and writing for books. So yeah, just all the books.
Well, and it sounds like a call for nuance, Corey. It sounds like I've definitely experienced this in my scholarly pursuits, but also in my singing, that folks will expect a certain type of sound when we say we're playing Black composers, or they expect to hear a quotation of spiritual. This should sound familiar to anyone who's done any reading about Florence Price. We expect a certain racialized sound, and in doing so, we make assumptions about the creators of that music, and we assume a monolith. We assume that Black folks are a monolith. And one of the things we're learning in this more globalized society, there is no one singular way of being Black or existing as Black in this country. And there's no one singular way of creating music as an African American or as a Black person. But as we start to engage with that idea, it's going to lead us to more nuance. And I think that's where we're getting to the point where we can hear we don't say all German composers sound the same. We don't say Schumann and Schubert and Wolf and Wagner sound the same. But we're like
individuality. That's
right.
What we need. Embrace. Like the communal, the collective is important, but the individuality as well, that needs to be centered a lot.
Exactly. Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is one of the reasons why I'm doing the current research I'm doing, which is I'm trying to put together information about recordings of spirituals by a variety of composers, performed by a variety of singers. And what I'm hoping is that people who take a look at this material will listen to these recordings in the hope, in the idea of trying to understand what it is about Burleigh that makes Burleigh's works his. What is it about Florence Price that makes her works hers? What is it about Damian Sneed that makes his things what they are? Just being able to listen to them and understand stylistically how the spiritual has developed over the decades. And that when you're performing, when you have made the decision to study spirituals, that you're paying attention to what the composer has asked for, and that you're aware stylistically what time frame, the concert spiritual's only been around a little bit over a century, but it has changed so much. And you don't sing Burleigh the same way as you would sing Damian Sneed. You don't sing Margaret Bonds the same way you would sing Florence Price. And so, and that's what I'm hoping with the research I'm doing right now, is that people will find it easier to be able to pull this material and understand more about what the stylistic differences are, what the composing approaches are, and vocally, what kind of things different singers do. Roland Hayes did not sing the same way as Paul Robeson, etc. And then a more contemporary singer. One of the things I'm trying to figure out, and if anyone knows an answer or where a resource that I can find it, I would love to know. Early classical singers use rolled R singing spirituals. I think I can figure it out why, but if you listen as it gets later and later, the rolled R disappears from their recordings. I can guess. I think it's real, but I don't know. And I'm trying to find resources that tell me this. So these are the kind of things that are the questions I'm hoping, at least if I can't find an answer, that maybe somebody else will raise the question and be able to find the answer.
I have to commend both Randy Jones and Corey Hill, and they should be the ones given the titles Reverend Doctor, because the scholarliness, I guess you could say, that's coming from them. As a non-musician, I am not a musician at all. I'm an arts lover and the parent of two musicians. But what you're saying is so important. The challenge comes is, how do we bring it to the children? How do we take it to our youth? How can we start them out when they're young? Victor Simonson, my son, who's a musical director, a composer, he did the opera at Glimmerglass year before last, before the pandemic, and Pamela, who's with the Washington National Opera in the chorus, an opera singer. Both of them went through school, not really embracing classical music, but when they did, they were encouraged, and they were, given opportunities to be able to perform it. And coming from myself, I'm not a musician at all, like I mentioned. They were the ones who really embraced classical music. I don't know where it came from, but they embraced classical music. But to Corey's point and to Randy's point, for them to be fed the scholarly information at a level of a kindergartner or a third grader or a fifth grader or an eighth grader, so that they can grow up becoming familiar with that work, the work of Florence Price or a work of H.T. Burleigh. And even when you look at the church, how many churches really are still singing Negro spirituals? It's all about, and I love the urban gospel music. I love all of that music. But how many young people are really hearing the H.T. Burleighs or the Negro spirituals and the classical music? How many churches are still doing Messiah, for instance? So that they can become accustomed to hearing the different orchestral pieces and so forth. And it's just important, I think, that we help to find a way that this Renaissance can bring education, music education, to elementary school. We just finished a summer camp, the Kappa Camp, Cultivating Artists, Musicians and Performers, CAMP. And, one of the things was, of course, opera. We had an opera workshop, but to juxtapose that, we also had a stage combat, workshop for the youngsters. So, they were able to embrace the opera workshop as much as they were able to embrace, the step workshop. So, I just think that it's important in this Renaissance that we're in that we start out young, and I try not to talk over their head, because I saw what happened with my own children. Victor, he's on the road now with, as the first Black musical director for the Broadway show Hamilton. I mean, I was shocked when I found out that he was the first African American who had been hired for Hamilton. And, but he started out listening to classical music, and it was kind of, where it evolved into what he's doing now. So I just feel that we take up the challenge of taking it to our young people, taking it to our youth, giving them scholarships if they want to study the violin like Corey, if they want to, write a composition like Jasmine, or, write books like Randy that focus on, and then of course perform like Leah, and somebody mentioned mentorship earlier. And I think that that's a part of where this Renaissance can go and be successful, is if we then just take one child or two children, or however we can, and then mentor them when we see that there is a raw talent or a talent that is hidden and that can be, that can blossom and grow into something, new and different and revolutionary.
Yes, agree 100%. Yeah, because as you were talking, I was thinking about the children's books that are available about Black classical musicians, and like we got Leontine Price, probably a few about Marian Anderson, but yeah, in terms of composers, very few. I mean, and then outside classical, there's a children's book on Melba Liston, which I snapped that up, even though I'm like 31, but I'm like, I am owning this. My niece is going to know about Melba Liston. So yeah, she's not going to have to wait till she's an adult before she learns about what this woman has done and what she has created. And so, yes, it's like our work, it requires the reestablishment of a pipeline, as you're saying, Reverend Dr. Allen, that we need to, start young, where like with I help what my sister, I help watch my niece a lot, and just having music on in the background where there's Florence Price and there's Gershwin, and it's a little bit of everything. And but yeah, and like how we need to have more resources, more literature that teachers can just take and like, okay, I'm going to apply this in class, because I mean, I have never taught at the elementary school level, but just from what I've witnessed, is like, you just need you get that packet and you just go. And that is more of what we need, because there are some there's a few series have come out, like Music for Black Composers, that has some tunes in there by that are more accessible. But again, we need more broader range of materials for people to snap up and apply and take the dive if they are unfamiliar with repertoire and feel like, oh, I can't teach this. It's like, if you can teach music, like you can, sometimes you just got to learn as you go. I think that's another big thing, like more people feeling comfortable to learn as you go.
Yes, I agree with everything that's being said. I'm over scanning the chat too and seeing what's going on. I do want to did Doug, before I have one final question, but I wanted to make sure we got through everyone. Did Doug have something to say? I thought.
The moment has gone. I was just going to say quickly that that you would agree with me on this, Marquise, that the concert on Friday night shows that even one Florence Price is not the same as another Florence Price, because across the range of her style, and as someone mentioned earlier, the range of performance styles, I believe this was you, Randy, that, you know, even within just Price's catalog, there's so much richness and depth that, you know, we've barely scratched the surface of nuance on this, which is very exciting.
Well, that's definitely true. I remember Doug, actually, hidden figure who helped me with my dissertation. You know, I was going to write a performance guide to Florence Price's art songs, but I ended up finding so many diverse styles in Price that I wanted to analyze them instead and figure out different ways to analyze them. And I ended up finding at least 6 or 7 discernible stylistic, like, subcategories to categorize the songs in, including an impressionistic style. So I came up with I don't know if it's a new term, but what did I call it? Harmonic discontinuity or something. I still don't know if I like that term, but this way in which discontinuity, as in unexpected shifts and changes, and things that would be coded by people like Chadwick, her composition teacher, as breaking the rules of harmony. These might be intentional gestures to right, Jasmine. It's like breaking the who made the rules, right? Breaking these rules of harmony, so it doesn't sound boring and unseasoned, as I call it. I call it boring and unseasoned. But but the breaking the rules of harmony might be an expression of a unique experience of being Black. What does it mean to be living in this world of classical music at her time, when you have to get into these sort of Eurocentric spaces while maintaining your vitality, while maintaining your identity? Of course, there's going to be discontinuity in the sound. Of course, not all of the music is going to sound the same. And I ended up making these larger comments because I found more nuance with Price the more I looked. And so that just begs the question, as we look into more composers, as we support living composers. And Kiro Okoye, one of our last year's laureates, won a Guggenheim this year, which we're so excited about. And what kind of new opportunities does that offer? And even as I've spoken to Nkiro a couple of times, Dr. Okoye, talking about the variety within her own style and how she's felt like people have wanted to describe her style in limiting terms or try to box her in. It's to me so encouraging to see more and more women like Dr. Okoye being appreciated for breaking boundaries when people like Price were being put in boxes. I do want to be respectful of our time and my eating schedule. So I have a final question for the group, but I think it's rich. It came up as everyone was speaking, and I know there are no easy shortcuts to making change. So I'm going to preface that. But I always like to leave off with some action items for folks who are listening and viewing. And so I pose the question, what is one tangible way our listeners can support this renaissance? And that is not exclusive of supporting your projects, because everyone here has projects moving toward the renaissance. So don't be shy about talking about your projects and how people can follow and support you. But this is also particular, as I go around and did lectures, I was very lucky to do about 11 lectures last year on Florence Price. I think I had to retire from lecture circuit for a little bit, but every single lecture ended with folks, and particularly white allies, asking, what can we do? How can we fix this? What can we do? And sometimes behind that question was, is there something easy I can do? Or is there somewhere I can throw my money? There's not an easy answer, but there are first steps that we can take that move us toward continued advocacy. So I will start with saying, as people have brought up, PriceFest is moving toward starting our first round of our Price Pledge Initiative, which is going to be a new initiative for folks, educational partners, to take a pledge to diversify their programming, include Black composers, particularly at university level, include them in their jury standards and what they're requiring for repertoire, and to provide resources for these folks, for these educational partners, to teach age-appropriate and level-appropriate repertoire by Black composers, starting with piano music. So if you're an educator and you'd be interested in being an educational partner with PriceFest, send us an email, or actually go to pricefest.org and sign up for our newsletter so that you can be kept abreast of what's going on. We're going to be rolling out that language, and I'm excited. We're going to have some wonderful piano pedagogues. We've spoken, I shouldn't say everyone's name, but Elizabeth Hill is going to be heading this up, a fantastic pianist. I've already talked to Leah Claiborne, who's doing wonderful work at, I think it's called Ebony, or what is it called? I think it's called ebonyclassical.org, might be her website, where she started to already compile repertoire. So again, we're talking about partnership and creating resources with the goal being no more excuses. There's no more excuses to not be programming this repertoire, because there is work from everyone here that is, if we looked among us, there's something age and level appropriate that's being produced, performed, distributed by someone on this panel. So now we need to make those access points and resources available. So that's PriceFest. Any other people want to go first? Maybe I can start with Randy with your information about your book or other things.
Okay, well, I'll very briefly just mention, direct people to the website on Art of the Negro Spiritual .com. There is some reference to the book that's it's due to the publisher very, very soon. It's called currently called Recorded Concert Spirituals, a guide for the solo vocalist. And you can get a lot more information on the webpage. But what I really wanted to talk about, since you offered the opportunity, Marquise, is a while ago I started a radio station called Afrocentric Voices in Classical Music. So Afro Voices. Afrocentric sounds, I should say. And I've been trying to find and play radio broadcasts of recordings by African American composers or performers. Those are the two main elements. So that means that everything from Bach and Beethoven to Ellington and Burley and whoever, as long as either the composer or the performer is of the African diaspora, I've included there. I can include their recordings. It's a free broadcast, and it's running. If you go to Afrocentric Sounds, you can find it. Please support the radio station. If you have recordings that are coming out that you think would be appropriate for the station, I'm always willing to consider adding them. They do, because it's a radio broadcast, need to be commercial quality as far as that is concerned. And I am also looking for support for the station. I kind of think of it as being classical music available, providing a service for recordings that generally are still not part of the mainstream, but are still wonderful works, and I think need to be shared as widely as I can make them available.
Thank you so much, Randy. Where do folks can just look up Afrocentric Sounds, and that's how they can support and submit recordings?
If you look for Afrocentric Sounds, the station is actually available. A link to it is available on afrocentricsounds.com. So, as I said, I think you will find it fairly easily, or just email me and I'd be glad to provide that information.
Lovely. Thank you, Randy. And if you could send me your email, I'll post it in the chat so people can email you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll just move to the next person on my screen. Jasmine, any thoughts of how tangible steps people can take to work toward this renaissance or support your work?
I would say maybe just I'm going to say financial support. I'm going to say that because I wasn't going to, but I'm going to say it because a lot of times, a lot of people that do support the arts, they're assuming that their dollar goes to the artist. No, it does not, in case you didn't know. And so if you wanted to go to the artist, give it to the artist. That's all I have to say. And maybe curate concerts in your home, or maybe, create spaces that you can actually tangibly support the arts, instead of blindly donating money and not knowing exactly where it goes. I think it's really important to be a part of being the hands-on navigation of where your financial support goes, especially into these artistic communities. But yeah, I'm going to say that and leave it at that.
That was a word. So you needed to say that, Jasmine. Thank you, because people need to know. And there, if we learned anything, people value the arts during this pandemic. They missed it, and people need to remember that as we move back to some semblance of normalcy, and reflect that by paying the artists. We have to remember to be critical. So that's a very good comment. Anyone else? Corey or Terry? Whoever wants to go next. Corey, go ahead.
Yes. So, in addition to what folks have said, so the Afrocentric Sounds radio show, I also would recommend the Daffodil Perspective, which is a radio show run by Elizabeth Brito that is very, she does a fantastic job of making sure that the music she plays has gender equity, racial parity. Yeah, excellent radio show. Also, that if there is a book or CD on a Black composer or with music by Black composers that either you yourself cannot purchase because of financial issues, see if your public library has it. If they do not, if you don't know this already, you can request that they purchase a copy so that then you can check it out and listen. And I did that I'm in Cincinnati and wanted to see if they were going to order Raylinda Brown's Florence Price book. And it was like, if you guys don't have the budget, I can donate a copy. They weren't taking donations, but they ended up buying 2 copies. So there's 2 in circulation within our public library. So that was very exciting. Nothing program composers, whether you're a performer, whether you're a music director, whether you're a teacher in a public school, if y'all can afford the music, buy the music. And then, as Jasmine said, make sure that when you purchase music, whether it's recording or the sheet music, that you're going through a vendor, whether it's the musician themselves or a vendor where they will get the majority of the financial proceeds. So I think those are some very concrete steps that can help in terms of accessibility and financial, making sure that the money goes to the people that should be getting it, because art, a lot of times, because it's framed as fun and entertaining, it's believed that it should be free. And art is work, it is labor, it is how people put food on the table, keep a roof over their head. And so just give the money to the people that should be getting it if you're enjoying their work.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you. I put some quotes. There's a lot of quotables. Thank you for mentioning Daffodil Perspective. I love Elizabeth Brito's show, and I nearly forgot to mention her. So thank you for mentioning that. Terry, I'll pass it over to you. I think Terry had something to say.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Congratulations on all of the projects that are going on. And we're here to help support Black classical musicians. So please, let's stay connected, in terms of, whatever little bit we could help with, any little bit helps, I believe. So we're here for you. CAP is going to kick off our season on September the 11th. We're doing a virtual Melody of Art, and we're featuring the Kappa Jazz Ensemble. And then right after that, on September 15th, kicks off our masterclass series. And this season, we have a roster of wonderful, wonderful music masters that will be going to the historically Black colleges and universities virtually. And they include Kevin Thompson, Kenneth Kellogg, Gordon Hawkins, Rayhan Bryce Davis, Janae Bridges, Justin Michael Austin, Marietta Simpson, Marvin Lowe, Indira, please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing her name, Mahayan. Is that the correct pronunciation? A soprano? Izakaya Savage, Victor Ryan Robinson, and Latanya Moore. And that will go into every single week on Wednesdays is our masterclass series. We also have, and we're going to be redoing our Opera Composers Project, which Jasmine participated in last year. We give 3 opera composers a $2,500 grant. They'll compete, and then the winning opera composer will be able to help them mount or launch their original opera, and they get a $20,000 award that will be repeated. We also have a program that we were approached by a producer it's called Kappa Presents. And where I implore you to please send in videos and different performances that you might have been engaged in, because that is going to be on 3 different networks at this point, Roku, Amazon TV, and Apple TV. And that's Kappa Presents on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Also, we have a soprano play project that we're launching, and that's you'll hear more about that at another point. And then right now we're getting ready to open up registration for the second Arias at Sea, Blacks in Classical Music Cruise. That will be sailing on March the 12th through the 19th, 2023. And on board we'll have 4 different singers. The soprano is Angela M. Brown. The mezzo is Janae Bridges. The tenor is Izakiah Savage. And the bass is Kenneth Overton. So we're very, very happy to have them on board. And it's hosted by Reginald Van Lee, who is also the chair of our board of directors. So we're excited about some of the things. As I mentioned, our season kickoff is on September the 11th, on the eve of the Congressional Black Caucus. This is an annual event that we do, the Melody of Art, and that will kick off our season. But going all the way through June, there's probably maybe 2 to 3 events every month that we'll be doing. In addition to the variety of different programs, we do a free recital series for our senior citizens. We do the Opera for Fun youth outreach program. A lot of these have transitioned into virtual. So operations is for our youth, where we partner with our school system and our educators, where we give them a pre-planned program. We're also partnering this season with the local school district, Prince George's County Public Schools, 16,000 children. Last season, we did the anniversary of Beethoven's birthday, but this season, it's the anniversary for the Harlem Renaissance. So we'll be doing the Harlem Renaissance, and that includes an essay contest with WETA, a poster contest, of course, a composition contest, performances, both vocal and instrumental performances, and that will continue throughout the year. And we also partner with the ASALH. If you don't already know about the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, they're the ones that Carter G. Woodson, that organization was founded back in the day, that started Black History Month. It was originally Negro History Week, and then it transitioned into Black History Month. So we're partnering with them, and have been for the last couple of years, to put out programs that tie music with history and the humanities. So, I implore people to help us to bring color to the classics. We're here for you in any way that you might need. If you have an idea, a concept, a project that you want to see come to life, we'll do our best to help you make that happen. And, we love new ideas, new concepts. We want to take that opera that Joshua and Jasmine did before. We want to present that opera, Jasmine. So, I loved the costuming. I mean, you should have seen this. You should have seen it. It was absolutely fabulous. I loved that 20-minute vignette that you did. And but any way that we can help Black classical musicians, youth, and others in the performing arts, that's what CAP is all about, and helping to bring color to the classics. So our website is www.4, Kappa, CAAPA.org. Follow us on Facebook under Kappa, the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts, Twitter, and also YouTube, the YouTube channel, where you'll see some, some of our, videos. So I just thank you, Marquise Carter, for the opportunity to be here today. and share, as I mentioned before, with my laureates, my fellow laureates. I feel honored that among all of this youth and beauty that you have included the Reverend Doctor. I'm going to adapt that name now. That's, come on.
You've earned it. You've earned it, Terry.
So, I can talk until next Tuesday about Kappa. So I'm going to just,
Well, and we posted your link in there, and I posted about 10 things. So I'm impressed with all of what Kappa is doing to serve the community. And we're definitely going to try to find ways to partner through PriceFest and find some ways to help with your program, add to it, or just support it. So yes, I'm so excited about that. Leah, let's hear from Leah. How can we buy your CD, Leah?
I don't have a CD for purchase, but
well, that's a crime. We're gonna find one. Okay.
I just want to remind people that support is a noun and a verb. So whatever that means to you, financial support is very important to artists. Words are nice. We need you to uplift us with words, but we also need you to uplift us with money and with support by with tickets and watching live streams and being there for artists, Black artists, in whatever way that you can, whether by recommendation or jobs. But support. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leah. Did you share? I think Corey did share. Yep. I just have, before I close us out, something came to mind. Support is a noun and a verb. And guess what? There are hidden ways in which I had to make some space to talk about labor as well. Oftentimes there is hidden labor. And I'm sure everyone here knows what I mean, particularly our laureates, of being asked for free labor as scholars, as performers, as composers. A coffee meeting is a coffee meeting. A coffee meeting where you ask for advice on where to find everything about Black composers and where to purchase this, that, and the other. And can you teach me a little mini voice lesson? And we've all experienced different versions of that. Or can you look at this? Just be aware of the labor that we ask, particularly of Black women and femmes in this space, in these spaces, and be aware before you ask. Make sure, and this is particular, I'm talking to the white allies and those who want to support the work. Note that these folks have published books, that there is the art, there's, what am I thinking of? There's a database, the Art Song, there's our Art Song Alliance, there is a database that Louise Toppin produces. There is the Institute for Composer Diversity, who we partner with for the educational initiatives. There are so many resources, and the internet and Google are magical. So make sure that you've done your due diligence and that you're not asking for that free labor. I just have to mention that because I hear more and more reports, particularly in Zoom, where people think they're being asked to come to a social thing, and then it becomes, oh, you're a panelist. Oh, how did this become a panel? This happens. So I just want to put that in the room, and I wanted to just check and see if there are any comments or questions from our viewers for any of our laureates before I close this out and say thank you one last time. And you got 5, 4, 3, see, because I'm hungry, 2, 1. All right. Thank you all so much for viewing this. I want to just unmute and just give ourselves an applause. I want to applaud each of our laureates. Thank you all for your work. Thank you for your labors. Thank you for representing the best of Price's legacy and beyond. And here's to a new Black Renaissance. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep investing in the new generation, and let's keep visioning toward the future. And if there isn't space for us at the Met, let's make a new Met. And if there isn't space for us at that corner, let's start a new gated community. If there's a gated community that won't let you in, let's start a new community down the street. Because one thing that Black artists have done throughout history, we've created our own societies and protected ourselves and created a safe space. And if folks want to be a part of that, let's be part of the solution, not a part of the problem. So there's my sermonette. I'm not a reverend doctor, I'm a music doctor, but I will now say thank you all for enjoying PriceFest 2021. My heart is full. We had I think we might have had even more attendance than last year. We exceeded all of our my goals for this event. And thank you for supporting us as we've had to be flexible and mobile, dealing with the different mandates and safety protocols to keep our artists safe. So thank you all so much. And I look forward to seeing our laureates' continued work. And make sure you're following PriceFest on our pricefest.org page. Follow us on Facebook and at PriceFest on Instagram to know what's going on with us. Special thanks to Jordan. Let's all give Jordan a hand. See, Jordan thought we were going to forget about him. Thank you, Jordan, for helping put together this award ceremony. Thank you to the executive committee of the PriceFest, particularly Sequina Dubose. Send good thoughts to her. She actually had a car accident, so just send her some loving and healing thoughts right now. I want to also thank Daniel Sampson, our treasurer. I want to thank all of our presenters tonight. I want to thank the Institute for Composer Diversity, Aaron Mueller, the technical director at University of Maryland, the Clarice Center for Performing Arts, and all of the folks who have supported us throughout the years, particularly those who sang on the Friday night concert, all the people who sent in videos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This really makes all the labor worth it. And with that, I say good night to everyone, and I hope you take this forward and create a new Black Renaissance. Have a good night, everyone.